Hi there, welcome to Movie Nights, where we discuss movies that are so bad they're good, cult classics, and all the other mishmash in between. I'm your host, Allison Pregler, and today we're going to be talking about Kindergarten Ninja, which was a comedy from 1994, I believe, 1994, where discipline becomes a code of honor. Whatever that means. Honor spelled the English way. The English-British way.
Oh, you want a beer? We got beer. We got plenty of beer.
So yeah, this is a movie that stars Dwight Clark, who was a NFL superstar, who in 1982, I believe, caught the touchdown pass that won the Super Bowl for his team. I believe it was the 49ers at the time.
I love being a football player.
I don't really follow football that much. All I know is this was the only thing that Dwight Clark ever acted in. I know that he's done other sports type things. I think he's been on ESPN. But as far as acting as a character, this is the only thing that he's done. So what is Kindergarten Ninja? Kindergarten Ninja is a D.A.R.E. sponsored movie. D.A.R.E. to keep kids off of drugs. You probably were taught this in school. They made this movie. It's introduced by a cop who is clearly reading from some cue cards. I don't know who this was distributed to, if this was shown in classrooms, if this was rented. I'm not really sure who this exactly was aimed at. I know it made it to DVD because I have it in my hands. I don't know who these people on the cover are. I know the one guy in sunglasses is the only one actually in the film. The rest of them, I don't know. So, in Kindergarten Ninja, Dwight Clark plays a different character, Blade Steele, who is a football player, stretching his acting chops, who, instead of being upstanding Dwight Clark, he is a womanizing, playboy, alcoholic, sexual deviant. He gets caught drinking and driving by an officer who appears to be shooting a cops-type program. So he's sent to court, and the judge makes sure to tell him he's like the worst person he's ever seen. The worst. Like, I'm sure a judge has probably, presided over murder cases or, other type of things. I mean, but no, he is the worst person that he's ever met. Such disregard for the law. So when someone is like the worst person that you have ever seen as a judge, where do you want to put them? With children, of course.
I hereby send you to serve 90 days community service. You will serve your time teaching children. That is my decision.
So he goes to the community center to register for this class that he has to teach. And that leads to my favorite moment in the film, and with the most natural blocking I've ever seen.
Children's sports?
Oh, great. You'll love our little ones.
No, wait. I didn't sign up for that. I wanted girls PE.
So they've just admitted that he's a pedophile, is what they've done. I mean, so this guy who is this alcoholic sexual deviant is supposed to be in charge of teaching these kids unsupervised. Even if he wasn't all of these things, he's still just a normal dude who doesn't have any teaching credentials. I mean, he doesn't have a syllabus, he doesn't have anyone making sure what he's doing. He's just thrown in with these kids, and they hope for the best. This classroom is full of many, many terrible child actors.
Let's play Street Fighter 2. Yeah, that's cool.
Or sometimes just one or two adults that he's interacting with off screen.
You guys want to play Street Fighter because it's dangerous, and they go around beating each other up, right?
Yeah.
My favorite character is the kid who does the random alcoholic song and dance.
You got arrested, 'cause you're an alcoholic.
Meanwhile, in heaven, someone's dad plays God, and there's Elvis and George Washington and Charlie Chaplin are all there. And Elvis and Washington are doing karate with Bruce Lee, who they never call Bruce Lee, but it's Bruce Lee. And of course, Bruce Lee is in heaven. That was his religion, right? So, Dad God goes to Bruce Lee and says, listen, in order to become an angel, you gotta perform a miracle. And his miracle is to help Blade Steel make his life better. Not one thing about this version of heaven is right. Not a single thing. Like, some of them are walking around with, like, fairy wings. One of the running jokes in the movie is that the Bruce Lee character is not, his face isn't shown. His, you know, it's always halfway blocked or he's shown from behind. Except during the fight scene when they introduce him, his face is clearly in view. But, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter which way it goes. Whether his face is shown or not, he looks nothing like Bruce Lee. Even halfway, it's nowhere near what Bruce Lee looks like. And this character, he disappears 15 minutes into the movie. 15 minutes into the movie, and then he's not relevant anymore. It's just some other thing. Bruce Lee first meets Blade Steel in this really confusing sequence where God is telling him about Blade, and then a little box appears at the bottom of the screen, and Bruce sees himself meeting Blade for the first time?
And have heaven pick up my check.
So Blade sees some guys messing up his car in front of a Payless shoe source, so he decides that he's gonna fight them, and proceeds to get his ass kicked. So what does Bruce Lee do? Well, he takes over his body and fights for him. 'Cause that's how you become an angel, through violence. To be fair to the movie, the fight choreography is not that bad. It's not Bruce Lee good. But for something that stars a football player with no prior acting experience, it's passable. I'll buy it. Don't get me wrong, there's bad stuff too. But it certainly could have been worse. So after this, Blade has accepted Bruce as his guardian angel, and Bruce says that he's gonna help him with his community service because kids have all the emotional content?
I love kids. They have all the emotional content.
He doesn't really help him with this stuff, though. He shows up in his bed for no reason, but he doesn't actually help with any of this stuff. All of the work is actually done by one of his former students, a blind master sensei named Chosen One.
His name is Master Chosen One.
This character could have been just the Bruce Lee character. I mean, the actor could have even played him for as close as they got to what Bruce Lee actually looks like. There was no real reason for any of the heaven plot. They could have just started with Chosen One. The name confuses me too. I'm not sure why they went with Chosen One. I mean, I know the word play, but I don't know. He's not the chosen one. He's not what the plot's about. It's nonsense. Just complete nonsense. It's unclear how teaching Blade the martial arts is going to make him not an asshole. I mean, he seems pretty okay with being an asshole through much of the movie. You know, like, he'll just point out, like, yeah, borderline pedophile, alcoholic, that's me. It's cool.
And you hated children.
Mm-hmm.
You chase women.
A lot of them.
You disrespect the law. And you drink too much alcohol.
That's pretty much it.
Chosen One proceeds to teach Blade the martial arts through 3 different montages, all with the same song and almost the same footage. It's really tedious to watch. It could have been Dwight Clark training for the fight scenes in this movie, for all we know. All I know is it was there to pad the movie out and did nothing else for me. After just one of these montages, Blade decides to teach these kids martial arts because I guess he's a master now? Correction, he gets chosen one to teach them. So basically he's pawned off his community service on this blind guy. And by the way, karate is the only sport we see these kids doing in this children's sports program. We see Blade reading to them, we see them going in an endless loop on a slide, but we don't see them doing any other kinds of sports, unless you count that sweet dancing.
You got arrested, 'cause you're an alcoholic.
Meanwhile, we have yet another plot going on where there's a new drug that's hit the street called Buzz, and it seems to be almost exclusively sold to elementary school-aged children?
Jackpot, Sarge. Buzz.
It's bad news, Sarge. New synthetic drug from China. No odor, no color, quick high, and real cheap.
And there's a detective who is trying to stop this from being spread, who almost acts like a main character, but really all of his plots are solved by Blade, so there's really no point to him.
No, we're having a little party. Is there a law against that?
No, no law at all. But if I find any dirt on you, I'll come down so hard on you, you'll never get up.
The guy who is selling the drugs is Hector Machete. We know that he's bad because he beats up small children.
Today you got a bunch of guys wearing Hawaiian shirts and sports coats, and they don't shave for 3 days. They look like this Miami Vice guy, this Don Johnson guy. Did they cancel that show?
And his corruption goes all the way to Mayor Crookolini.
You make sure my brother's company gets the bid.
They're really terrible crooks. I'm just gonna say, like, I don't know how they've never been caught. They're just beating up children in front of everyone. And no one seems to do anything about it. Except for Blade. Because Blade sees them beating up some kids, and so he goes out and beats up some goons and starts some shit.
Because there's a new sheriff in town, and his name is Blade Steele.
Wow.
Chosen One warns Blade that the bad guys might retaliate because of this, and immediately they show up at his apartment and they gotta beat him up.
You're so cool.
Alongside all of this, there's also a romance going on, because clearly there was not enough happening in this movie. So there is only one woman who can tame Blade's heart, and that is some teacher at the community center. And she invites him to go to dinner with her at Clark's by the Bay, which was Dwight Clark's real-life restaurant. And they start promoting it at the bottom of the screen. I don't know, I can't decide if it's intentionally or not intentionally funny, because that was closed down quite a while ago. A failed business venture.
How about 8 o'clock? Clark's by the Bay?
Clark's by the Bay, that's that old football player's place. Boy, was he overrated. But his food's not. I love that place.
So Machete decides that Blade's gonna be an issue because he has beaten up a couple of his goons. So he decides to bring in some reinforcements, which are the turf ninjas, which are ninjas in football uniforms who are magical. 45 minutes into the film, magic, for no reason. So Blade is on his date, and he is at Clark's by the Bay, which is not actually shot at his restaurant. It's clearly shot in someone's living room, with the Venetian blinds and all that. And it looks just absolutely miserable to be at. There's this bad karaoke going on. It just, they're not doing a good job selling this as a place that you would want to go. And let me just say, Chosen One is really amping up the blind guy comedy for this scene. But uh-oh, while Blade's on his date, someone's watching.
像是吹呀吹醒我相思梦，啊，吹醒了。
Okay, so this is what leads to the best sequence in the film. Like, legitimately awesome. I can't even really say that this is so bad it's good. It's actually just kind of great. Blade is singing karaoke. They get him to go up there to sing karaoke while his blind friend plays the keyboard. Of course. And during this karaoke song, the girlfriend is kidnapped by Machete's goons. So Blade goes to fight them and retrieve his girlfriend while still singing the karaoke song. It just goes on like that. Like, no one questions this. No one is thinking like, what's going on here? Everyone just goes with the flow during this karaoke fight scene, and it is absolutely fantastic. And the girlfriend only seems like slightly miffed that she was kidnapped and assaulted. Like, they don't call the police or anything. They just go on with their night. So Blade finishes his community service, and his life is changed for the better because an angel pawned him off on some blind guy who did all the real work for him.
Are you coming back, Mr. Steele?
So Machete decides that this is the time that he's gonna go in and get the kids back on the drugs, now that his nemesis, Blade Steele, is out of the way.
Adios, Senor Steele. You fake stuntman guy.
How does he do this? Well, he has a montage where he works out a lot, which is somehow gonna help him get the kids back on drugs. And while this is going on, Blade has a montage of his own of remembrance, which includes the little kid who does the alcoholic dance for some reason. There are a lot of montages in this thing. Oh, and then the school is shot up between scenes. School shooting? What?
What have you been up to lately? Hey, wait a minute.
Children were injured, and one teacher, Miss Linda Thomas, was shot in the arm as bullets riddled through the classroom windows. Ironically, the school has been a role model for drug prevention.
Then the useless detective has Chinese food with Blade, and then there's some shots of his crotch for some reason, and then it's go time. Chosen One turns into the Terminator, and then they decide that they're gonna become vigilantes and take out all of these criminals on their own.
You really think you can take this guy on by yourself?
Find out trying.
No, you'll find out dying.
So now, it's a two-man war. Kindergarten Ninja. A guy tries to attack Blade with an empty cardboard box. Some children are there for some reason. Magic football ninjas. There's some blind guy slapstick in front of some rainbow tarps. Pretend slow motion. Everything you need for your climactic fight scene. I'm not really clear on if the pretend slow motion is intentional or not, or if they just didn't know how to do it. I think it's intentional, but I guess the real question is it funny or is it embarrassing? I'm gonna go with embarrassing. Blade kicks Machete into a pile of empty cardboard boxes and the day is saved. And then the community center has apparently appointed yet another criminal in charge of these kids. When Blade returns and says, you know, his life's better and I don't know, he's gonna teach them now. So we get an update at the end. Blade and the teacher broke up. Bruce became an angel to a faith he had no part of, and Chosen One apparently became unblind for some reason. They threaten us with the end. For now.
You need your space.
Okay, so I know that this was a comedy. But it's just not clear who this movie was aimed towards. Because clearly it was made for children. It was made by the D.A.R.E program, or at least sponsored by them. D.A.R.E, you know, they taught it in schools. And there are a lot of jokes that are for kids in this. But there are also a lot of jokes that are for adults that are clearly not appropriate for children. The editing is really amateur. There's page peel transitions. They have bits where in the montages there's music that's hard rock, and then it turns into children's lullabies for some reason. For a movie that's called Kindergarten Ninja, the kids are more of an afterthought. So, the question that I asked before, who is this for? I guess it's for people like you and me. I guess it's for people who like so bad it's good movies. Because this was kind of a rare comedy that became so bad it's good. You know, like Tracks is a comedy that's so bad it's good. And it's hard to do, because bad comedy has to turn around and become funny again, and that's a really difficult turnaround, but I think that this one managed to pull it off, because there's not a lot of dull moments in it where you're just waiting for something good to happen. It's pretty funny throughout. The montages are the only real thing that are a little bit hard to sit through, but you can get through it. The rest of it's really funny, so I recommend it. It's so bad it's good. Thanks for joining me on the first movie nights. I hope to see you next time. Bye!
You got arrested, 'cause you're an alcoholic.